Official Classic Hardcore is here, a game mode where if you die a single time, your character is deleted. Since launch, there have already been over 360,000 recorded deaths, and the average level of death is 10. But against these insurmountable odds, I decided to try a little challenge. I would press the start streaming button and would not end until I either hit level 60 or died. Welcome to day 1. The plan for day 1 was simple: get ahead of the pack. As expected, the starting zone was absolutely stuffed to the brim with players. Oh my god. Hey, do you think we're getting any tags here or no? So I had to get out of here as quickly as possible. But Hardcore is actually a bit different from a traditional launch. In normal Classic, people will eventually catch up if you slow down, as people slowly trickle into higher level zones as they level. But in Hardcore, since the average death is so low, the starting zones will be perpetually cramped, while the late game zones will stay empty, because people simply do not reach it. That means to stay ahead, all we have to do is stay alive. But that only counts for later. As for now, we desperately have to get out of this starting area. Unlike unofficial, grouping is readily available and allowed, so I decided to group up with my friend as we tackled the boars and the troll cave earlier than normal. Being in a group is very useful to get tags, but there is a limit. You do lose quite a hefty amount of experience while being grouped, so we stuck to just being the two of us. We eventually split up again as we left Cold Ridge Valley, since there is a lot of gathering quests coming up. In Hardcore, there is one place you absolutely do not want to be, and that is in a cave. By far the biggest percentage of deaths happen in such locations, because if something goes wrong, there is simply nowhere to run. So entering our first one, I had a very clear rule: do not stand on top of a spawn location. Hyperspawns and the like are only dangerous if you are in a spot where stuff actually appears on top of you. So I nestled myself into a cozy corner and only fought enemies where I was standing. With the cave cleared, I once again grouped up with my priest buddy Pad, and we proceeded to blast through the rest of the zone. Blizzard had obviously changed something coming into this release, because some locations where enemies usually never respawn, this time around they were flocking us. Seemingly endless amount of enemies just respawning, which of course is really good considering how stacked these zones will continue to be, although it will probably lead to a few more deaths. Eventually entering Loch Modan, we were properly ahead of the pack, and our goal with day 1 was completed. Of course, it had only been about 2 hours so far, and we were planning to stay up for at least 24. On the way to Elwyn, we met up with the dwarf and bought ourselves a greater magic wand each, since trading an auction house is enabled on official servers. As we arrived, we easily took down Hogger, then went into Westfall. I don't know if you've ever played as a mage-priest combo, but it's really strong. The shields and heals from the priest, plus a mage's AoE output, we could just grab entire camps of gnolls and blast them down without issue. Also, my level tracker kinda messed up somewhere, so it's 2 hours ahead for some reason, and will continue to be. But 6 hours into the first day, it was time to do the wetland skip and head to Darkshore. At this point, being way ahead of the pack, it was time to consider our next goal, the Dead Mines. We were going to try all the dungeons on our way, because as we've said, just being alive will put you in a very good spot. And dungeons come with a plethora of gear upgrades, but perhaps more importantly, gives you additional XP outside of zones, which helps you stay ahead in levels compared to the enemies you are fighting. We deemed that going out of our way too much to, let's say, Wailing Caverns or Shadowfang Keep was a step too far though, and we would stick to anything in our path. Problem is, finding people for a group isn't super easy when you're blasting ahead, but eventually we found a warrior willing to tank, and decided to do a trial run of the dungeon during an elite quest in Loch Modan. This quest is quite useful because it gives us our first easily accessed ring. Now we decided to tackle this quest as only 3 people. Was this smart? No. I can confidently say that this quest was scarier than any dungeon I've ever ran in Hardcore. There are patrols everywhere, seemingly nowhere to run, and the quest even takes you deep into a cave where we have to fight a dude that's got 3 levels on us. The final dude is also linked to 2 other guys, which we pulled and instantly decided to run. But somehow, I managed to only get 1 extra dude on the next try, and after a few heartbeat resists and 2 properly empty mana pools, we eventually killed the guy and sprinted out of there. While this was definitely scary, we were at least completely confident in our abilities going into our dungeon. Fast forward to the Dead Mines, nothing useful dropped. Please, 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 please. Oh, unlucky. But at least the rogue got a cruel barb. Oh. Cool. After the dungeon, we were now 13 hours into the first day, and about to hit a very important level, 22. This is a milestone level for mages because it unlocks 3 out of 3 improved Blizzard, the most broken spell talent combo in the game. With the talent Permafrost, Blizzard now slows the enemy movement speed by 70%. for 4.5 seconds, and we were quick to utilize this the second it was unlocked. Stand still, stand still. If you start moving, it's very hard. You see those? Oh yeah, shield me, and you see like the two next to you? That guy's not going to frost normal button. We can tank him in. Okay, you are running from me. Just... Can you get that Grey Robber on you? Back a little bit. One resist. No, that was Frost Armor. With this insane power spike, we dominated the upcoming zones until we eventually reached our second most dangerous quest yet. While playing a Mage Priest combo is very safe if we play like cowards, it feels wrong not to utilize such a strong group. So, we set our sights on the Red Ridge Elite quests. It started off pretty smooth. Even with packs of multiple elites, I could just control most of the pack while he took care of casters and the like. The issue started when we set out to tackle Thariel Soon for the Wanted quest. He is guarded by 3 additional elites, and taking all those guys on would simply be too much. So to easily separate him from the guards, all we need to do is split pull. This is actually pretty easy with access to Blizzard. All I have to do is hit all of them at once and then run, while letting Pad keep the main mob in combat with wands. But for some reason, all of the enemies decided to swap aggro to Pad and instantly root him in place.
I'm netted.
Oh fuck.
5 seconds, and then we just run. Can you nova these two?
Yep. Even with the somewhat close call, I still wanted to greet the kill and kept him as a sheep as we reset the others, which worked out and we went back for the kill. Again on a bit of a high, we ventured out to try yet another dangerous quest, the Cave Escort quest. I of course had managed to solo this on my Arcane Mage, so as a group of 2 I wasn't too scared. But then the worst possible thing happened. Whoa, I DC'd.
Same.
Oh shit.
The entire server crashed. Normally, having the entire server crash when you disconnect is actually a good thing. If the servers are down, that means all the enemies and everything about the game instantly stops. Whereas if you disconnect on your own, the game keeps running while you are offline, most likely killing you. But because we were 2 people, 1 person disconnecting actually isn't that bad, and a whole server crash leaves us in a very sticky situation. When we log in, we will be surrounded by at least 3 orcs, and because of layering, we cannot guarantee that we log in on the same layer, and dealing with that many enemies this early on is quite difficult, especially considering the types of enemies surrounding us. As a last-ditch attempt, we tried using the unstuck service on the Blizzard website to hopefully bring us to safety. But there was no way to know, because when the service came back up, I was placed into a 95-minute queue, which means after 21 hours, day 1 had to end. Not because we wanted to, but because we had to. After 6 hours of sleep, we came back at around 4 AM. The problem is we still had no idea if we were alive or not, meaning that the challenge and stream could just end minutes into day 2 if we had not been teleported. Okay, 3, 2, 1... Oh, yeah. We're safe. We were alive and the grind had to continue. Quite quickly to day 2, we got our old Deadmines group together for a quick run of the stockades. Dungeons are on a daily lockout in hardcore, meaning you can only do a particular dungeon once a day, which resets at 6 AM. Due to dumb luck, we timed our stockade run perfectly with the reset and managed to send 2 runs back to back to finish up all the quests. To keep the momentum, we decided to take the same group into Black Fathom Deeps, as now was a good time. Getting the 1 for Pad would be a huge upgrade, and there are some pretty prominent drops for us to acquire considering we missed out on the Deadmine staff. And as luck would have it, we actually got the drop.
Ooh. Nice. Hey.
Aside from the last boss being kinda scary and absolutely chunking our tank,
oh my.
We cleared the dungeon with relative ease and parted ways with our group. After some questing in Ashenvale, we hit 30 and unlocked Ice Block. Yet another extremely strong spell which is sure to save our life in a pinch. We now entered the Ashenvale stretch. While a beautiful zone, the quests are so few and far in between that you're just spending most of the time running around. When we finally hit an area with mobs, we finished most quests in a pull or 2. Then it was back to running. But once finally done, it was time to go back to some real zones. And for the remainder of day 2, we were absolutely blasting. Yes, while being a duo is relatively safe, you cannot say that we played it as such. Just massive pull after massive pull. If possible, we took entire camps of enemies at once with no issues, just speeding our way through entire zones. You know the Duskwood quest where you have to kill ghouls underground? We cleared that entire area in just 3 pulls total. We were fast, we were efficient, and nothing could stop us. Of course, the 3 elite quests proved to be of no issue either. Okay, doing? 3, 2, 1, now. Nice. After what I'd call a great time overall and 11 hours into day 2. Bro, we're doing an entire mastery in one pull. That's kind of funny. It was now time to reconvene with our old friends for perhaps the scariest dungeon during all of leveling, Gnomeregon. But this is unfortunately where I lost the rest of day 2 footage. But I'll give you a brief recap. We cleared Gnomeregon and I managed to get my hands on the helmet from the last boss. With only a 10% drop chance, it's incredibly lucky to acquire and it's an absolutely huge upgrade that will last me forever. Then we proceeded in the same fashion as before to pump through zone after zone. Stranglethorn, Arathi, Alterac, eventually ending up at level 36 where Pad died. Yeah. We were a bit overzealous and went for a huge pull with an enemy that apparently could silence. Also, being in a cave, escape was quite difficult, and while I managed to escape with an ice block, Pad perished. Whoops. This was also the final quest before heading to bed. Sucks to suck, I guess. With Pad dead, I allowed myself a bit more sleep, going for a stunning 8 hours total coming into day 3. It wasn't long before we hit 37, but the levels were about to slow down a lot. Being solo, questing just isn't too viable for us anymore. Mage in general is by far the fastest class to level in Classic due to something called AoE farming. With the help of Blizzard, there are some exclusively melee camps of enemies that we can abuse for insane XP per hour. The problem is, I have not leveled a traditional mage in Classic since the launch of the original 4 years ago. This means my AoE farming capabilities were extremely rusty, and coincidentally, the most dangerous time to be doing these pulls is around level 37, which is right before you get Ice Barrier. At the moment, all I have to protect myself is Mana Shield, which is not only pretty weak, it also drains an extreme amount of mana. This is all to say I was probably not prepared for such a farm yet, and decided to quest it out until I hit level 40. But boy did it take a while. If Ashenvale is the king of running, then Desolate is the fucking emperor. Just back and forth and back and forth. I met up with my rogue buddy on the way to do the pre-quest for Scarlet Monastery since it was on the horizon, and after 3 hours I got level 38. The only upside was that I got the satchel on my first kill. Oh, first kill. Ah, it's just too easy, man. It's just too easy.
Oh, shot, you just got that on first kill.
Well, it is what it is, man. I still need the key.
On the first kill. I mean, that's a lot of wasted experience right there.
I was about to speed up a little though. As I hit Stranglethorn and was facing a somewhat close call, the next level only took 2.5 hours instead. But as I was gone getting food, I got disconnected and got sent into a 2-hour queue. But when we logged back in, it was time for a small adventure to Scarlet Monastery. For some reason, we had to get a new healer since our previous priest was gone, and we skipped Graveyard because we were simply too high level for it. In the library, we got lucky with the staff drop, but lost the roll. I lose, man, I lose! How is this possible? To which Pad reminded me that if he was still alive, he would have passed it. But of course, while it sucks that I do not have a staff, it sucks even more to be dead. So, in the rest of the dungeon, nothing of particular interest happened. We cleared it all up and received no loot. But the real benefit of going here was not really for us anyways, but instead to give our rogue friend a very strong weapon, which we succeeded in. After 2 quick Wrath raids, we hit level 40 and it was now time to put our master plan into motion. To prepare for the journey ahead, I wanted to get 2 very crucial professions up and running: First Aid and Engineering. What the fuck? Okay, don't blink over that bridge. First Aid will give us an extra source of healing, and Engineering will of course give us the target dummy. Then it was finally time to head to our first prison out of 3. The Murlocs in Dustswallow Marsh. This is probably the most annoying spot out of all of them because of the fact that the 2 different types of Murlocs in here have different movement speeds, which easily desyncs them. After our first pull going awry, forcing me to reset, I was feeling a bit skittish. With this many enemies, one wrong step could lead to me instantly losing half my health. So I had to be extremely on guard. But after just 1 lap of the place, I was already feeling a lot more confident. These farms are not only good because of the crazy amounts of experience you get, but also because the raw gold it generates. And gold is currently very important for us considering we do not have our mount yet. So the goal for the remainder of day 3 was simple: get our mount. Well, this day has dragged quite a bit, with the slow questing in the beginning, to the disconnect forcing me into a queue, to running Scarlet Monastery for no loot and very little experience. It was now all about to change. And after just 2 hours between 41 and 42, we could already see the speed increase. But we were still a bit short of our mount. Luckily, I knew of a priest who had just died the day prior, who won't be needing his gold for quite some time, so I promptly borrowed 20 gold from his reserves and spent it on our mount. This time going for red, since I've been blue my entire life and it matches our hair. If day 3 was the day of slow, obnoxious leveling, then day 4 would be the day of fast, unadulterated grind. Starting off back at the Murlocs, now with our mount, we had to reach 80,000 experience into level 42 before heading over to Tanaris. Here we were going to bang out a quick few quests to get us to level 43, which prepares us for the next 7 levels. The goal for today was extremely simple. With no Lich King raids, no pesky dungeons to slow me down, I was going to go for the stretch and reach level 50. And as we hit level 43, it was time for our first pull in the Pirate's Cove. Now, the scariest point when AoE farming is always when you first get to a new area, for a multitude of reasons. 1. You are completely inexperienced with the place and the pulls, as it takes some time to learn how to properly set them up while taking the least amount of damage. 2. You are the lowest level you will ever be during the grind, making some enemies more likely to resist and mess up a pull. 3. Your spell ranks are usually not up to par. For example, I don't get the next Blizzard rank until level 44, which is a 50% DPS upgrade. So to recap, you are low level, your spells are shit, all the while you have absolutely no experience. So playing it safe here is very, very important. But it wasn't long for me to get it under control, and even with the slow start, I managed to get to level 44 in around 2 hours. A shatter combo, ooh, ding-a-ling. And this is where the show really started. With the new rank of Blizzard, I entered what I like to call the assembly line. I was no longer a man, but a machine designed to kill pirates. Whoa! Doesn't that suck? First world epic. Our first world epic. Now trust me when I say these aren't common. Individually they sit at around a 1 in 15,000 drop chance per mob. And while we are killing a lot of pirates, it's actually only around 260 per hour. At this point I was sitting comfortably at 63,000 XP an hour. And in just 1 hour and 40 minutes we hit level 45. See, the best part of this grind isn't the amazing experience at the fast levels. It's the fact that I get just so many pieces of quality gear that I can distribute to friends and guildies. It's such a crazy amount of loot that just doesn't exist in the game or the auction house yet, due to the fact that it's so early on. So getting these pieces as a rogue or a warrior will really help them get to level 60, where they then can use their precious lives to help me gear and sacrifice themselves if needed. This place is probably my favorite to farm due to the existence of loot boxes. You can get these keys to open a lockbox in one of the ships which contain a guaranteed green item, adding even more to the list of things I can send off. But then the impossible happened. Whoa! Second world epic. Another world epic. I think in my original run of Classic, I only ever got 2 epics in the open world while farming, and now I've met that count with only 1 level between the 2. Crazy. I also disconnected at some point while trying to drink some water. It wasn't a big deal, but if this disconnect happened a few seconds earlier or later, I would be dead on the ground, so it's not a great thing to have happen. When you first get to a spot, while it is of course the scariest portion, it's also the fastest. As you level up and things get easier, you will also gain less XP per kill and more XP required per level, slowing the levels down just a tad bit. But it still wasn't bad. From levels 47 to 48 we managed to keep it around 58k XP per hour, and dinged after just a little over 2. You know, at some point during these last 2 levels I asked myself, is this a dumb idea? It feels like a dumb idea. I've spent 4 days now with a total of 72 hours of in-game time, and I'm not even level 50 yet. I had to put my entire life on hold for this, and I'm not even in contention for world first. At best I'm top 30. Why am I spending my time on this? On top of it being my birthday today. Like, what? But the doubt quickly subsided when I hit my goal, level 50. And after a long 20-hour day with 18 hours of pure gaming, it was time for another quick 6-hour sleep before we went right back at it. Something very special happened on day 5. I finally stopped being an idiot and updated my rested XP, which gave me access to the advanced mage AoE guide. This guide might be the reason why mages are so far ahead when it comes to world first races, because it's no longer just pure AoE farm, but really optimized questing in between. You see, the problem when you're traditionally questing in Classic is that you cannot front load all the amazing quests because you run out of them. This means you have to rotate between zones a lot to stay on top of your level and not do anything too high or too low. Mages do not have to care about this, because so much time is spent AoE farming. When it's actually time to quest, you can literally do all of the extremely efficient ones at once, giving you insane XP per hour. Or at least it would, but I failed to understand the log got skipped to Searingord, so I end up wasting 30 minutes just trying to get there. But once there, it was very fast. Every quest was just AoE pulls after AoE pulls, and as we left the zone, the quest log was looking extremely juicy. If you want access to these guides, by the way, use my link in the description to get levels 1 to 22 for free and the code JAMPONEST at checkout for 5% off. Thank you. Then it was off to Ungoru to do the exact same thing. Just one lap around the entire zone to finish up a crazy amount of quests. Like, look, wow! Look at that quest log, man, which almost brought us to level 52 in just 1 hour and 40 minutes. On the way though, I decided to skip some of the more difficult quests because while I was farming my way through the crater, I got asked if I wanted to join a Sulfurak. And considering I am literally right next to it, I decided it might be slightly worth to get a few upgrades before heading into our next zone. This was a pumper group. It felt really good being an actual mage in here compared to an arcane only mage, because now I was at the steering wheel. Instead of having to rely on somebody else to keep the enemies controlled, I was the one controlling, and boy did I do just that. Just so many zombies at a time, and we even decided to pull half the stairs in one go just to flex. In fact, we did it twice. On top of this, both the items I needed from the dungeon dropped, but I of course lost both the rolls, so yeah. I win! Let's go! That's the wrong one. The rogue had even gone and got the mallet, so we could summon Gasrila. So even if I left with no loot to my name, at least I got a carrot. I parted ways with the last group of my journey to make my way to the final stretch. I am level 52. 79 hours have gone into this character so far in only 5 days. But as we enter the Plaguelands, there is no guarantee that we will make it to 60. One misstep and all our progress could be instantly wiped, and my stream would end on the spot with no satisfying resolution. After a bit of questing, it was finally time to give our new AoE pull spot a test run. This area has one thing we are very afraid of. The skeletal horrors cast a fear the second they are rooted. This can be outranged with a simple blink, but if we get caught slipping, it could spell the end of our little gnome. In general though, this shouldn't be too bad. The enemies are all the same speed, don't really have anything deadly outside the fear, and they are in a very open area, making resetting them in case something goes downhill very easy. We're also helped by us getting the final rank of Blizzard at level 52. Well, there is one more at 60, but that doesn't count. While I had some annoying things like resists happen, I got the hang of it pretty quickly, and we soon had the assembly line up and running. It wasn't long before I was rudely interrupted by a quick ICC PTR session, and after wiping to Deathbringer a bit, we were right back to the line. There is another reason why this spot is so good. You see, all these enemies drop minion Scourge Stones, and if you turn in 20 of those, you are awarded with 550 experience. As you can see, the guide wants us to get up to at least 1,000, which turns out to be 27,500 XP. Not bad. At some point during level 53, we were sitting at 85k XP per hour. To give you some perspective, right now we are leveling about twice as fast as you would if traditional questing, on top of getting all the different gear, rune cloth and gold. Still, because of our little stint in ICC and Sulfurak, this was a somewhat slow day, and we decided to end it at level 55 with only 5 levels left to go and 1 day remaining. A few days ago, I decided that my goal was to reach level 60 before 100 hours played. With only 5 levels left and 86 hours on the clock, I was looking to be on pace for that goal. If everything goes according to plan, day 6 should be the final day, whether I live or not. We were of course back in Western Plaguelands, taking our time blasting away at the zombies. One cool thing about this place is that the XP per hour doesn't really slow down the higher level you get. There are so many spots to pull, and coupled with the fact that you eventually abandon blizzarding in favor of just arc and explosion while kiting with Cone of Cold, it speeds up kill times quite a lot. And that's why I found myself really liking this AoE farm. While slightly monotonous, yes, there is so much to optimize, and it changes every level. Besides, I'm an OSRS player. This is right up my alley. The funny thing is, I was so adamant on getting my engineering and first aid ready for this, but I've not used it a single time. Oh my, am I missing something? I've been like giga lately. Boom! That makes a lot of sense. I've gone down 1,000 intellect without noticing, or what? Am I just like brain dead? Between the levels, there are a few stints of questing.
Can I help you? Need help? Farewell. Hey there. Be careful. Safe travels. See you around.
We're done.
Be careful.
And back we go. We started at 11%, so we got 3 bars. But it's not until level 59 where we completely abandon the AoE farm in favor of finishing the journey with pure questing. Now the weird thing is that usually levels are slower the higher you go, but level 59 to 60 is one of the fastest levels in the game. Also, hitting 59 only took 2 hours, which really shows the power of this AoE thing. The reason why hitting 60 is so quick is because once again, I can front load all the good quests that are left in Western and Eastern Plaguelands. While they can be scary, it eventually turned out fine. But what's even more important is something called the cloth turn-ins. Basically, each faction has you turn in 60 of each cloth, totaling 240 of every type for a total of 50k raw experience. This is about a quarter of your level, and with the amount of cloth we have saved up from this grind, it proved to be of no issue whatsoever. So after finishing up Eastern Plaguelands, we were back to the west to do some Scarlet killing, and with that finished up, a quick travel around the major cities left us with only one quest away from level 60. You know what we're doing, right? And the music. 07. It's been a long journey. 6 days of straight streaming. Oh, hey, I just found your stream. Can you restart it since I missed it? Oh, yeah, actually, sure. Okay, wait. Get back in the zone. 07. Hello, Bolvar.
Well,
Yes, sir. Some people climb Mount Everest, some people go to space, but I have streamed for almost a week straight and with 96 hours and 34 minutes on the clock, hit level 60 without dying a single time. Thank you for watching, and if you'd like to tune into any future streams I do, just subscribe to this channel and keep an eye out. See ya!